So, welcome back to episode 4 of GPET. Professor Khurana, I would like to ask you today regarding the degrading of Fitch rating. Fitch has degraded long-term rating of US from AAA to AA plus. So, what will be the implications of it on India or on China? Because on the other side, a lot of US companies are fearing from taking products from China and all. Is it the impact of this Fitch rating, or is it the impact of Ukraine war? How all this is interlinked?
That is a very interesting point. It is economics, it is politics, it is technology, it's methodology, and the global impact of ratings like this. Normally, we hear that these ratings reduce the levels of India and other such developing countries like Brazil and so on, which makes our cost of borrowing higher.
Hi.
Okay,
Right.
now we come to USA. USA has been having a very, very heavy budget deficit. And the debate was going on, $36 trillion debt.
Okay.
And the limit had to be increased by the Congress, which they only did it temporarily. Otherwise, they won't have been able to give money to their employees. Okay. Having said this, what's important is that since it's a country rating, it is not a question of P&L statement, etc. They're not commenting on whether you're collecting sufficient taxes or not. It is saying that last 25 years, the governance quality of the US and the system has deteriorated. And on that basis, therefore, we are reducing its rating. Now, obviously, it has been countered by
The current government.
by the current government, and in this case, it is Secretary Yellen who has countered it by a very Indian type excuse, which is in 2019-20.
Yes.
There is a problem of the data accuracy. And that is why this has happened. And of course, then connecting to COVID period.
Right.
Now, this is the excuse Indians would
And
have
giving blame to earlier President Trump.
No, not even.
That's also one news was that
Well,
it was
may
done
be-
during that time.
Maybe it
only.
may be, but no, it's not. It doesn't help. They are saying U.S. governance system. They're not saying you, me, and all that. They're talking about 25 years. They're talking about steady decline. And that steady decline, of course, is shown from the tremendous budget deficit. And if you look at it from the point of others, saying that these guys just print notes and act like badshahs.
Right. That's what they did in 2008 recession also. They printed
No,
note,
but
gave it
here
to
also,
people.
you keep on increasing the limit beyond which you cannot go. And then every year they go beyond that. It's worse than what India does, relatively speaking, or developing countries. So $36 trillion is a lot of money. It is more than the GDP, 2 times now GDP. And GDP growth is not much. We can come to it. GDP growth has been about 1% in US last year. And these are the IMF statistics. And Europe, a little less than 1% growth. India, 7%. Japan, 2%. Which means the developed countries have reached a phase of development where now these are stable economies. Because let's remember that their GDPs per capita are quite high. So they are growing 1% on top of $25,000 or $50,000 per capita, which is equivalent to our GDP.
Right.
But the growth engines, therefore, are somewhere else. Now, if growth engines are somewhere else, then you have to ask the question, what's going to happen to these economies? And is this tension between US and China Taiwan related, or is it that they are becoming from number 2 towards journey to number 1, and so on? So we can then discuss it from the economics point of view first. Let's look at what's happening to primary sectors. Of course, in these countries have practically become very negligible. It's manufacturing sector and then the services sector. Services sector in their cases have gone all beyond 50%. The negative way of looking it was one of the senators 20 years ago had said, very soon US economy, the GDP contribution maximum will be by flipping the hamburgers and washing the cars.
Somewhere down the line, are we saying that the era of US is declining? China will shine?
Not from this. Because sometimes also I or anybody can be critical based on the existing numbers, current numbers. And the current numbers in manufacturing are that China has declined because US has reduced the purchases from China, others have not, from 28% of the GDP being manufacturing to 24%. Okay. Over last 10 years, the percentage of GDP of USA, which was 24%, has declined to 17%.
Okay.
Right? Next point is that perhaps then this is the equilibrium state, that they will be around this because China is not coming specifically to take away their manufacturing value addition. And for them, there is a limit to what they will not buy from China. So now let's look at the numbers there of Cato Institute, which is reproduced in the Washington Post yesterday. Now, what that says is that from a level of about $700 billion to a trade 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, just before COVID. This year, that means 23 March 23, it has gone down to $550 billion in US. However, their imports from Mexico and Canada have gone up by the same order. Now we'll come to what is happening actually. But if you go to Canada, Europe, within that then Germany and then France, the dynamic economies, bigger economies, everybody's imports from China have gone up. Okay, everybody's imports
have gone up.
So if Canada is importing more from China, exporting more from to US, then you go into the structure of it. And then who is the number one trading partner of US now? Mexico. Why? Mexico is not at that level of technology, manufacturing, something. What are you importing from Mexico? Well, what you have told China not to send to you, actually companies do it. Government don't do it. A company doesn't buy the HP laptops made in China. But are you not buying those laptops?
They're buying it through the route of Mexico.
They're buying through the route of Mexico. And setting up units there.
Because Mexico already had a FTA with the US.
Because it has an FTA with US. If you don't give them jobs there, these fellows come to your place and create ruckus, right? And become drug peddlers. You are making a show of not buying from China to your own public because you have made it political. It is good for Mexico to add this manufacturing there. It's good for you. You're buying it cheaper if you have done it across the board in Texas or something, right?
Right.
So it is decoupling for lecture purposes somewhere. And if I come to lecture, it's decoupling and then it's decoupling. It's a Chinese company, right?
Ultimately, it's from China.
Not ultimately. The Chinese companies which have set up these manufacturing there. Yes. Some things which can be made in Thailand and Vietnam, they got shifted there. Now, that could be manufacturing done by either Taiwan or by China. Taiwan is also the game. So Taiwan can come and set up semiconductor plant there. Because Vietnam people have become good in terms of going in the same assembly type of labor. People are similar and so on. Issues are similar. The extra people are there in the rural areas. They have to come out.
Right.
And when they come out, their skill levels are at a particular level, which are for clothes and ready-made garments and so on. And the next level you go is the assembly of the electronic things. So that China plus one policy for certain things, and again set up by Chinese companies themselves. And we will go back to that history also. So that's coming. What has therefore happened is that China last 20 years, they were like I tell you, entrepreneurs who look at global as a market, not China as a market. to set it up, right? And your country doesn't say, oh, no, don't manufacture so much, manufacture less, like licensing in India. Yes, manufacture for global market, right? Now, when you manufacture for global market, your factories are massive.
You get economies of scale.
You get economies of scale. In these
Cost
things, you will
goes
get
down.
economies of scale.
Right.
Because not just the manufacturing cost, remember, it's the marketing cost, it's the logistics cost. Your cost of promoting these gets divided into a lot of things.
Right.
Otherwise, can Samsung or somebody else promote that much? Or earlier Honda or somebody? Can they spend that much money? No, it's not possible because this is millions of, now these days billions of dollars for promotion. So therefore, there is economy of scale in marketing also. There is economy of scale in logistics management, right? If you can give a complete container load compared to having parts and bits and so on and so forth, or sending it by plane, then plane load. So that thing is there. So yes, there is some decoupling to tell to their public, but in reality, no.
It's not there.
In reality, no. And just like we were discussing the sanctions on Russia, that exports to Russia of X number of things have gone down, but Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan import that more now.
So coming through that route.
So an academic can do all this tracing of it, or their intel can do it, or can do it, but they don't share it that much because after all they want to create a different kind of image to the public. Like India. China, no, China, no. Last year it has jumped by 10%. China, no, what is this? Laptop restrictions, what is this? More will come from China. Because you can't make it at that price at all. So even given the cost of transportation and logistics, you're still more expensive. And you will be because your component manufacturing is not there. Component manufacturing has to reach a level of economy of scale, no? Right? No, it doesn't happen overnight. And India, therefore, for these things which are already global markets, then has to think globally. Otherwise, you can't. And to think globally, you require financial muscle and entrepreneurship, which is lacking in India. All these are guys become big by stopping the imports of things.
But now entrepreneurship culture is growing. Recently we had...
It's marginal.
Still, yeah, if I compare it with the population, yes, it seems to be. But still we have given 100 unicorns. We have given one
Those
company.
unicorns will not stay also. You'll see. Because that is the tamasha which the venture capitalists do to be able to attract more money and sell their own shares. Remember? That is also a promotion of another kind. Baiju ko kya ho raha hai? What's happening to Baiju?
Baiju, somewhere down their model was different, which was not acceptable.
Then why the venture capital firm gave the money?
Yeah, because...
Why did they price them that high? If they couldn't figure out this model is not good, you and I can do it. Right? No. So both things are there. Both genuine people are there and also a lot of drumming is there. And since you have invested, you want to get out, you say valuation is so much.
Recently, we had one listed company. IIT Bombay has given us one company, startup, which has finally listed, which is now finally listed.
Now, this is where you should compare. That our IITs have been in the business for how many years? 60, 70 years now, okay? And so many of them. And they have been given plenty of resources. How many listed companies and with what capitalization has a little lab in Stanford given? Forget about the rest of the system.
But today only I was reading that invention labs are being, and we have got so many patents in IITs only where inventions have
Remember one thing. Earlier they were not even getting patents because there was no incentive. There were government labs which were doing it. Now, question is patents, how many of them get commercialized? Not just having patents, how many get productionized, how many get commercialized. And whether they get commercialized successfully. That is where the proof of the pudding will be there. Proof of the pudding is there. Okay. So we were on this, we will just tie it up, is that in this Cato Institute study, it shows that US is now importing less from China, but probably the cap is coming there. It won't go much below that. They are also at the same time sending Secretary of State and Secretary of Treasury to China to make them saying, no, we are not against you, but we're just doing some decoupling and de-risking and all that. They say we are also doing. We will also do decoupling and de-risking, right? Now that is what will happen in the end. That USA has had this advantage of being the monopoly supplier of weapons to a large number of countries, one way or the other, and huge quantities. And then things like planes and submarines and so on, that may go down. You had asked me some question. It is going to remain like that. Now, if that goes down, not only those companies become unprofitable, but USA becomes unprofitable.
That's what I was trying to ask. We are talking about that it has come to an equilibrium, but again, equilibrium cannot stay for a longer period of time. That has to either come down or go up.
Therefore, you have to see sector-wise that where is Russia? Russia has proved that they are as good, right? China has not demonstrated in the field of war, but otherwise.
Otherwise, right.
Okay. Now, if these two countries are also closely always shaking hands, friendship, forever friendship, India is in between, chhod dijiye. In this region and South Africa, and therefore we come to BRICS nations. In BRICS nations, if they become the arms supplier, okay, then the US arm industry becomes unprofitable. See, remember, it's not a question of taking whole market. If I've got 100 volume, let's say aircrafts, but then I can sell only 40. Unprofitable.
Unprofitable, right. Your revenues goes down.
Same thing tanks, same thing HIMARS and anti-missiles and so on.
Right.
And same thing, the other side of it is that India, just having a specific rocket and then launching some satellites, and then that rocket becomes useless. It's very expensive. So SpaceX has already gone into next level technology, which is that they come back and they are reusable. So now ISRO is working on that. Now remember, otherwise this thing which goes up and throws up the satellites up there and all that, then comes back and crashes into the sea. Right? So this is where the technology shift will take place. This will require a lot of money. But if they are able to do it, government of India is able to do it, then you become oligopoly. Nobody else is working on that, by the way. Nobody else is working on that because to them the manpower is very expensive. For us it is affordable.
Right.
So many of these things where we do come near their capacity, of course they will like to go and step further. So now this is like technology shifting. I can give any fancy sounding academic name to it. But you are ever advancing on your technology, but you have to take those calls as to whether this will be optimal solution or not. For us, it's an optimal solution.
So let's wrap up that. Finally, it will affect US. If their
global system is too much interconnected for it not to affect them. Losing in Ukraine war will affect them. Not losing Ukraine war and continuing will affect them.
Yeah, everything.
It's not affecting China. China is not spending a penny. They've already spent $70 billion. Kharcha to hua.
Right.
And then another similar amount by the European countries. तो जो आपने ऑयल पाइप के लिए किया नहीं किया $140 billion तो आप डुबा चुके और किसी से डुबाओगे because you yourself borrow so much money that Congress says why don't go beyond this. Why do you want to spend $850 billion on military? Because they got 850 military bases.
Right.
अभी नाइजर की प्रॉब्लम भी तो यही है, सबसे बड़ा मिलिट्री बेस उनका वहाँ पे है नाइजर में.
We'll talk about Niger in our next episode.
Yes.
So here we end this episode. We got a lot of insights about Fitch rating, its impact on US, China, decoupling, de-risking. So we'll continue with this with Niger coup in our next episode. Thank you. Thank you so much.